Okay, so we have introduced some of the most important basics of Unity. Now we're gonna talk about how to go one step further, and instead of using just primitive objects, we're gonna learn how to import assets from the asset store. Okay, now you can always, like, if you need to create your character from scratch, you can always do that, but there is a lot of uh, characters and assets that are already created and you can use and build on instead of reinventing the wheel. All right, so how can we access the asset store? So, you should be connected to your Unity account here. Okay, so in order to use Unity, you would have an account and connect to it. Now you see this button, asset store. Now you can go to asset store web. It will take you to the inventory of all assets. All right. Now there are all types of assets like audio, like essentials, like templates, and tutorials and stuff like that. If we are interested in a character that we want for this example, it's under 3D. And then under 3D elements or assets, you can see all type of things, including characters. Okay. Now, if you go to characters, now you can have humanoids, creatures, animals, or robots. Okay. Now we can see there are a lot of assets there. Many of them are not free, but some of them are free. So you can filter out based on price. So as I filter out for only show me a free characters, you can see here. So I selected robot and then only free. And so this is the one I had. Okay, now if you click on it, it will give you information about it. Sometimes they give you also tutorials on how to use it and how can you benefit from it. Okay, and you would add it from here as well. Now I already have it downloaded into my asset, into my assets, so it's gonna look different when it's the first time for you. So I'm just gonna show you how it looks like when it's the first, when you don't already have it. So something like this. Now if I go there, now we say if you don't already have it, it will say add to my assets. Okay, so the button, if I click on it and accept, I can go to my assets or I can go to open in Unity. So because I already was logged in, so it already knows who I am and it like adds the asset to my account. So if I open it in the Unity editor, it will open my assets and then you can see here. Now you see the ones that I have, like this is the one I just included. So I will need to download it. So you see this icon means that it is ready to download, okay, or available to download. If I just I click here or click here, it will download it and then I would be able to import it into my project. So sometimes I would have things downloaded, but not necessarily imported. Okay, so now I downloaded it into my computer here. I can import it if I click here to import it. Okay. Now I want to use this robot Kyle. This is the one I have in the example. But these are the pre-steps. Okay, so download, and then once I download it, I can import it. All right, now this particular asset needs some dependency, so it needs upgrading. So I suggest that you start with it because this upgrading may mess up. Like if you have other assets or other things, you may mess up with it might mess up with your previous environment. So start with it so that this upgrade step happens and then add whatever you want. All right, meanwhile, there are also other types of assets that we're going to use in this example. So this was one route, so I know what I wanted, so I went through these sublinks, but I just want to have some sort of a texture, but I don't know where to find it, so I can just search here. Okay, so also I can filter out to see only the free things. Now you see there are all different types of textures to create like a background or a flooring or like, you know, all different types of textures. I already downloaded 2 of them. We're gonna use it during the exam. So I say yes, so because it's upgraded, so it's gonna restart. Meanwhile, so once we have it, after it restarts, I would be able to import it. Right now, I attempted to import it, but it needed to upgrade, all right, to install dependencies. So after it comes back from this restart, I would be able to import. So if I click on import, it will open this window, and then I click import again. All right. Let's see. Now there are so many interesting stuff here. If you look at, I mean, you can make really very realistic looking games. So like if you go to characters, for example, you can have actual like people with different features, with different outfits. All right, so now I can go to my robot and try to import it again. Oh. Now you can see it shows you what is it that you're importing. You can pick and choose if you want to customize it, but I'm just gonna import everything. So the character doesn't just come as one element, just a character. It comes with a lot of things that uh, work with it, like a texture for its appearance and all that. Almost there. Now let's see. Now we have it. We have everything that is related to it. Okay. There are some things we're not gonna use in this example, but you can like it's good that you get curious. Okay. Now the actual character that we want to include would be present here. Where do I find it, you think? Where should I find it? You think it's one of these materials, maybe? So it should be under the prefabs, okay? So it's prefabricated, right? So I can see it here. Now I can drag and drop. And there you go. So I'm just gonna put it centered. I'm gonna reset its location so that it would be centered, put in the center. Now you can see here's our character. All right. Now let's add some ground so that we allow it to fall and walk and all that. So I'm gonna add 3D object, a cube. And I'm just gonna make it like a little bit bigger here. Okay. Now you see when you import a character, it's not just the looks of it. It's not like just the shape. It's the behavior as well. Now see what happens if I try to look into the components of the character. If you look at it here, the inspector, you will see it already comes with the components that are attached to it, like character controller, like third person controller. Now we did use a character controller component to include some movement last time, right? So today we're gonna try another thing to do something like include some movement, but not with character controller, with the rigid body. Okay. So if I add component and go to physics and then rigid body here, now I'm just gonna put it up a little bit so that we can see it falling. Now let's run this and see. Now see what happened? Did you see what happened? There's also sound, but I'm not sure. You can't hear it. So we have seen the rigid body, the gravity effect on in a sphere before, right? Now we have, it's not just, it's a sophisticated character. So it has this, like, you know, the knee stepping, like the knee, you see how it is? With the sound as well. You can't hear it, unfortunately, but there, it comes with the movement that is like particular to its structure, and also some sound effects. When you try it, you can hear it. Okay. All right. Okay, so now I want to add some texture to this ground. So I need to access the assets that I already stored. Okay, so I would access that through my assets here. And I will start with the stone texture. Okay, so the stone texture here, I'm gonna import that. Okay, now I need to go. So this hand painted stone, if I go to texture, I will see all different types of texture. I can just drag and drop like this to try out different things. Okay. I like this one because it's easy to see. It doesn't really camouflage the character. Now we can, after we have the resource, we can adjust it Okay, so we can adjust it from, now it is part of the cube, right? So this cube is our ground now. I'm just gonna rename it so that we know. Okay, now this ground has this texture. All right, so if I go to it and expand it so that I can customize it, I can just, maybe I change the tiling. So let's say 2 and 2. Not really. 5 and 5. Why is it not affecting? Now see how the tiling affects the way it looks? I think 5 and 1 was good. Okay. Now we're gonna use this to distinguish between this scene and another scene. Okay, but let me just rotate this a little bit so that it resembles the view. Okay, so this looks like how it is on the camera. All right, now we have a rigid body. Okay, we have a rigid body component associated to this element. We want to use this rigid body component to include the movement. So if I use the arrows to move the character, it will move it back and forth. Okay, last time we used the character controller, right? Now we want to use the rigid body. So in order to do that, we need to create a script. So under the scripts, I'm going to create folder for scripts. And then inside, I'm going to create a new C# script. I'll call it robot and go. Now, if you remember, there are some aspects that we're gonna get the directions and the movement from the user by clicking the arrows. Okay. Now, this part is common. So this part is similar to how it is in the character controller. Okay. So if you remember when we wanted to create the capture the movement for the character controller, what did we do?